All right. Well, I guess it's happening. We are live. It's the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. I'm Rand Hoppy with the Jack Kirby Museum, founder and executive director. And I'm here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, actually. Forgive me, guys. Oh, there I am. And who am I here with? Go ahead.
Sorry. I got to turn the sound off just a second. I'm Tom Kraft, the president of the Jack Kirby Museum.
And I'm Mike Cicchini. I am the cheerleader of the Jack Kirby Museum, and
treasurer.
And treasurer, and I'll be providing color commentary.
I swear to you, he's the secretary. I'm not kidding.
Secretary, same thing.
So yeah, we're here, and we're going to be wandering through, taking a tour through Jack Kirby's Captain America's Bicentennial Battles, and what else should we be doing on the 4th of July? You know,
wishing everybody a happy 4th of July.
That's it. And please, everybody, stay safe, stay, independent, and wear your masks. I beg of you. Anyhow, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. In case you're wondering what the Jack Kirby Museum is, we are an IRS approved nonprofit. We've been around for 15 years, promoting and supporting the study and just the work and career of Jack Kirby, one of the foremost creative people of the 20th century, whose work still influences our culture today. So, okay, so there's a welcome scream invitation, and I am going to. Am I going to move on? I'm going to move on. Oh yeah, so there's Jack. He's at the World's Fair in New York City. He grew up on the Lower East Side. He and his buddies were little tough guys, and on the street, and it's just a really great shot. I believe both of these shots here are two of Mike's favorites of Jack Kirby.
These are by far the two greatest Jack Kirby photos, right? I agree. Especially the one on the left.
Yeah, he's got a bandage on his hand. There, he's holding a camera, and so we imagine there might have been some fisticuffs of some sort or another. Who knows? Jack was a tough guy, and there on the right, looks like he's near the Williamsburg Bridge or something, but he was from the Lower East Side, and here he is with his partner Joe Simon, and we're gonna the point about showing these guys is that at the time that they partnered, they were, along with Will Eisner and perhaps Jack Cole, they were the guys who treated comic books like they were their own art form. They realized that they had pages to deal with, and that they were able to expand their stories to change panel sizes, not page sizes, but panel sizes, and really use the what was available to them. And if it hadn't been for Will Eisner and Simon and Kirby, and of course the lightning bolt of Siegel and Schuster with Superman, superhero comic book, wouldn't be what it is as we know it now, because that was kind of where it was at as far as these guys. And what were they up to? And I'm going to click this button because Tom really doesn't like this little window down there. So there that goes. So their big creation was Captain America. Number one, here's Cap punching the German head of state, the fascist Adolf Hitler. This happened this was on the stands in 1940, long before the United States had entered into the war. Obviously, the boys Simon and Kirby knew what was going on over in Europe and knew that there was trouble, and they were very strong patriots. They loved their country, and really didn't like what was happening over in Germany and what the Nazis were up to. Captain America Comics #1 was huge. They sold a lot of comics, and here are some of the other ones. This is #2. This came out 2 months later. #3. I mean, then it became monthly after this, and the Red Skull is there. Horrible. Oh my gosh. This is, it's just comics were weird in those days, man.
It started turning into like a mixture of superhero and horror comics.
Yeah. But what I don't have them queued up here, but there are some really great spreads in the Captain America comics. That was the one thing that Simon and Kirby did. They took advantage of with as far as the comics medium was concerned. But here are the first 5 issues of Captain America and comics. And again, it was such a big hit that they they ended up having some problems with their publisher, Martin Goodman, who was ended up being was the Marvel Comics publisher, where there was some financial shenanigans. One of those things where the costs of the whole company were charged against the one book, because that was a successful book, and so the profit sharing wasn't as expected. So they went on and they went to actually the Superman house. They went to this where Superman and Batman were, National Comics, DC Comics as they call them now, and did some really great things there. The Boy Commandos were pretty much the #3 book at DC during the war, and but this is really more about Captain America, so we're just going to keep moving on.
Let me just say also that there were 5 more issues. I think they went up to number 10.
Yes,
and on the 10th issue, they were told they were also moonlighting at the time as well, working for I think they're working for DC at the same time, but they were approached and told that they had to leave on number 10. I think that they were still working on it when they left.
Yeah. So Kirby's career, I mean, he was with Joe Simon until the early mid-50s, and then the comic book industry kind of fell apart. With some what would you call them? Decency things that were happening, where the seduction of the innocent, Frederick Wortham, and their comic books were considered sleazy or something. So
corrupting the minds of the
correct. Yeah. So the business pretty much fell apart. It had a lot to do with what was going on in the newsstands, with distribution and paper. So Joe Simon actually ended up leaving comics. The partnership ended, and Jack was he was so much of a comic book guy. I have like jets outside my window that Jack kind of was really struggling with his career in the 50s, but he did end up back just because of circumstances. He ended up back at Martin Goodman's shop, which I'm sure he really didn't want to go there. But and he was there working with editor Stan Lee, and they had some.
That was around 1958 or 59.
59. And there were monster comics, and so when Jack came back, there became science fiction comics again, and it was I think basically Jack was encouraging Goodman and Lee to publish hero comics. He had been working on the Challengers of the Unknown at DC Comics. He had been, which was very successful, and he worked on The Fly and The Shield at Archie Comics with Joe Simon, who came back to comics for a little bit. And when he went to Marvel, he started pitching all these hero characters, and I guess the first one that was published was the Fantastic Four, and that was a big success. And then the Hulk was published. That wasn't as much of a success, but it, the whole Marvel thing happened, and it was an exciting time because Kirby was. He said that he called it a blitz, that he was really kind of just creating like crazy, working really, really hard, trying to make a living and doing all these great, superhero science fiction concepts. And one of the things that happened was this issue of Strange Tales. The Human Torch from the Fantastic Four had his own series. It was a very odd series because in the Fantastic Four comic, he didn't have a secret identity, but in the Strange Tales comic, he did. So, and it was a little bit. There was a little bit of a disconnect. But in this issue, in I think it was 1963, Captain America they featured Captain America on the cover, and Cap's looking great there. And the whole thing is that it's a fake Cap. So it's an acrobat. He's a thief. There's all kinds of shenanigans, and they really were kind of just testing the water to see if Captain America was something of interest, that whether it would move on the newsstands. And then what happened is that I pushed the button and it didn't. Okay, there we go. In maybe about a year later or so, Avengers 4 happened. They actually did bring back Captain America. Some people say that it was brought about by the assassination of the president, that when JFK got shot and killed, that these guys, Lee and Kirby, were kind of felt that there might be some value or use in being patriotic to kind of move things away from the sadness. So they brought Cap back, and he was very happy there in the Avengers. He eventually got his own comic, his own series, as half of Tales of Suspense. In like 65, I thought I had written notes about this, but they're not there. So I guess I didn't write the notes. And he shared the book with Iron Man. And then in about 1968, when Marvel was finally able to start publishing more comics, because they had been under a contract with it could only publish a certain amount of comics a month, when that situation ended, they expanded and they gave Captain America his own comic book in, I believe, 1968. And it was pretty cool to have a whole Captain America comic book. But, being that like what happened with, Jack Kirby's situation at Marvel, at that time, he really felt like he had been so instrumental to the success of the company. And the publisher, number one, there were lots of licensing. There were Marvel cartoons in 1967 featuring Jack Kirby's art animated. Mike and I have had a lot of fun with those things. Our favorite, I made a Zemo GIF just because I had to. But we, there were t-shirts, right? There were t-shirts and merchandise and cartoons, and Jack Kirby didn't see any money for that. Neither did Steve Ditko. I believe that's why Steve Ditko left Spider-Man. Jack Kirby stayed on because he had a family and tried to make something happen. Risk it. What's that?
He didn't want to risk it.
He didn't want to risk it. He had a family. He didn't want to risk his income by leaving, and so he stuck around and did some things like basically not creating all kinds of new characters, which he had been doing for quite a while, and that was really amazing when he was doing it. But he eventually left and went back to National DC, because the guy who he was having a fight with in the late 50s finally retired, and that's why we got the Fourth World. How am I doing on time?
Should move along.
All right, taking too long.
Yes.
So now, what happened the national DC thing failed. The newsstand world was really changing, and sales were really odd because things were selling, but they weren't getting reported as being sold. So Jack Kirby was not changing DC Comics in the way that DC Comics expected to. So he ended up actually going back to Marvel Comics in 1975. And here is the first issue. I am wearing a shirt that is a blacklight version of that, which you can't see, but just thought I'd let you know.
And that was the very first issue I ever saw on the spinner rack that I bought back in 1975.
And this art you're looking at has been significantly John Romita really significantly changed that face to make it more in the generic Marvel style. Mike, you didn't read this on the stands, right?
No. No, I was barely born.
There you go. And then there was the 200th issue of Cap, and that was a fun thing that happened in 76, I believe, and
that might have been 77.
No, no. Actually, I do have notes on this one. Hooray!
Okay, 76.
200. Number 200 was April 76.
Okay.
So 193, the Mad Bomb. The first issue of the Mad Bomb was September 75, and then 200 was April 76, and it was just kind of all kinds of just great Kirby Cap, and then this happened in June, this Treasury edition, and that's why we're here, finally. 17 minutes in. Forgive me, I beg of you. But anyhow, so it's Captain America's Bicentennial Battles. It was the Bicentennial. There was a lot of Bicentennial stuff going on. And, oh man, I can't remember the name. There was a train that traveled the country that was it the Liberty train? I forget what it was, but it was ridiculous. And it was a tourist trap. But we went. So there was all kinds of bicentennial stuff going on. So it's great.
Do you remember the bicentennial moments on TV? They'd say 200 years ago today, blah blah blah.
That's right.
You remember that?
I do. That's how old I am.
That's how old we are, except for Mike. Mike's a youngin.
Mike doesn't remember that. All right, so we're gonna move on. But anyhow, this is why we're here. It's a huge tabloid-sized comic. I love the fact that they were trying to break out into other formats. Jack also did the 2001 tabloid, and so let's go for a stroll through the story and the tabloid here. There's our inside front cover, chapter titles, kind of a cool black and white tone work on that, and this is just this is kind of incredible. It's the real standout here is Mr. Buddha and Barry Windsor Smith's inking.
Very different technique than most inkers.
Yeah,
and the interesting thing is they only list 3 inkers, but there are actually several more than that.
That's right. And so he's meeting Mr. Buddha. I don't know. He's been invited to the quarters of Mr. Buddha, and so I guess Cap in the Bicentennial is going to have some kind of spiritual awakening or a discovery session or something. So yeah, he's just this really special inking by Barry Smith.
Yeah, it's interesting because some people love it. Other people I've talked to don't like it at all. So it's just like with any inkers, there's always people that like the inker and others that don't like the inker.
That's right. So it's Cap's like, hey man, if you're teaching a course on transcendental meditation.
Yeah, he's very cynical through most of the book. And,
Cap is, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I was mentioning this to Rand, I reread it this morning and last night and this morning, And it's almost like a Christmas carol where, you know, you go back in time and all this stuff, and there's a journey that's involved, and then there's an end result where, you know, Captain America changes.
Yeah. So he goes through a maze of corridors, and then what? It's Nazi time.
I feel like this is still Barry Windsor Smith, right?
Oh yeah,
like this,
it is.
This I think this works really well for this segment of the story, but it's interesting that the rest of the inking isn't quite as distinctive as this. You know what I mean? Like you could almost say, like with some of the shading and stuff, and maybe it's probably not intentional, but that it's like, oh, maybe they were really trying to evoke the Simon and Kirby stuff of the 40s.
Right.
But like it's not necessarily the case where things feel like era specific in the rest of the book.
Right.
And I do really like this inking, but I also feel like story wise, this is one of the weaker parts of the book.
True.
It's almost like a segue because it's before he does the real traveling. And this is the only case where he goes back to his own past. Like he relives this moment. That's interesting.
There's fighting.
Lots of it. I didn't understand why he didn't like just kill Hitler at this point instead of just like knocking the heads, you know. But anyway, changing history, I guess you can't do that.
And there's Bucky. A great action panel at the bottom there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's nice to see Barry Windsor Smith really killed it on that one, you know, because as is coming up, you'll see some other things, but that panel is just great. Right? The trees.
Yeah.
It's like Jack Trees, inked by Barry Windsor Smith. Those trees have always been like, oh my God, those trees. They're just great. And then we transition to another moment where, Mr. Buddha looks a little different. Oh, this is
Mr. Buddha looks like he's gonna offer Cap some Tranya at some point.
Oh man, you know, you and I are much alike, Captain. All right. Oh, yeah.
So the whole premise of this, though, just to back up a little bit, is that he was going to be, so Cap is in charge of doing this big presentation on America, the 200th anniversary of America, and then he gets this invitation from Buddha, and he goes there. And Buddha's whole intention is he doesn't think that Cap really understands what America is, which is interesting coming from somebody like Buddha, who's most likely, well, he might be from the United States, but I mean, so he's trying to teach him the true meaning of America. And so he goes through all these different things, but the point is that he's trying to get him educated so he can make this speech, so he can talk to the American people about what America is all about.
Right on.
And he doses him with this
talisman.
Psychic talisman.
When he shakes his hand.
Right. So this is funny because like I remember reading this comic and like being like, wow, okay, that's cool. And then not only learning like, 15 years ago that there was such a thing as the cyclorama in Gettysburg. That was this huge painting that was kind of like the early, it was a big panoramic painting that was very dramatic. And this is, to me, this is like clearly something that, that where Jack was inspired by that, that there was something that he actually in real life that was there. But the other thing about this, and I'm sorry to go into this direction, but boy, I don't like that lettering there on that right-hand side and inside that oval. It's one of those things that just kind of stands out to me as an artist or a designer where I'm like, what? Why is it like that? I don't know. It's just sometimes lettering can really just stand out to me, and that one kind of drives me a little nuts. But anyhow, so do we think this is Herb Trimpe here? Does it
Looks like it could be.
I'm just looking at that face on the lower right. The Cap's face. All right, so
definitely not Frank Giacoya. It's not John Romita.
No. Yeah.
I'm busting out the
Could be Dan
checklist,
Atkins.
guys.
That's the only other one. I think this is Dan Atkins, this one here.
You think this is Dan Atkins?
Yeah.
Uncredited Dan Atkins?
I think so.
Probably comics.org has some details on it too, but I'm not going to wander over there right now. But okay, so he ends up. What does he do? Oh, he's in the city. Take me somewhere. Oh yeah, it's like he's in the present because the cabbie is talking about Marvel Comics. Oh, and then Cap's psychic talisman glows. He's not in a taxi cab in the city. He's in a coach. He's gone 200 years into the past.
Yeah, so it's Herb Trimpe on pages 12 and 13.
Oh, okay.
And then he also did 9 more pages after that, chapter 2, all this chapter.
So he's in Philadelphia, and he's, people are. Oh, and there's Ben Franklin. It's it's funny, for a long time, like in the culture of comics and cartoonists, that somebody like Jack would actually cite Ben Franklin as because of his work publishing the almanac, that he had something to do with the American invention of cartoons and comics. Not really sure about whether that's held up over time, but it was something that in a few interviews that Jack has mentioned. So he goes and meets Ben Franklin. And then what happens? Oh, right.
Yeah. So this is where
Go ahead.
if this happened in an episode of like Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who, I would be like tearing my hair out, or like this is the kind of thing that I feel like Jeff Johns might try and pull in like a modern DC comic or something.
Right.
And you're just like, nah, like this is one of those.
Throw something at the TV, yeah.
Yeah, like you're just like, come on, like, and Cap's reaction in particular. But like, what I really love about this is just how thick Steve is here, where in this bottom right panel, like they're showing him the flag, and he's like, "Oh, I rather like this design." And it's like Cap hasn't, like Cap is like the acid that Mr. Buddha slipped him must just be hitting now, because Cap is clearly not processing what's going on here.
All right. Oh yes.
And now it hits him.
And then it processes it.
And he's upset. No.
I've been ripped off by Brent.
Get me out of this place.
Yeah, it's like, Steve, bro, like, you got to chill.
The paradox. What came first?
What now? Oh, he's back. Oh, he's meeting a newsboy.
Who's the newsboy, Ran?
Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Jake Kurtzberg. You see. All right. What was the story about it? He tried to he would turn it into a story like, I tried to be a newsboy for a day, but I was too little and I wouldn't get the papers or something. Like they would.
Oh, wow.
Like that. They would push him out of the way, and it was not the business for him.
I do love this though, and I think it's the next page that has one of my favorite panels in this whole thing.
Right. We will make a move.
Yeah. It's that bottom left when he pulls that guy through the door.
Through the door. The door comes off the vehicle. Yeah.
He grabbed his arm because his arm shoves the kid in the face.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's classic.
You're stupid, Muscles, but you got guts. And then
was that Ramita inking that page?
That one?
What page is it? 23?
3.
Yeah, that's Ramita. You're right. 20 to 23 is Ramita, and then after this is Dan Atkins.
Hmm.
And he says, read the thing, I'll make them pay for my papers.
Look at him in the cooler, Clancy. Nobody's safe in this town while cheap hoods like Lefty are cruising around. My Paul.
When I get to be a big shot, Art, I'm going to plaster Lefty's ugly mug all over the comic pages.
Oy. All right. Oh, that one. Nice. Yep. Okay, Jake.
And he did.
He did. That's right. And then Steve goes for another adventure through the cosmos. Yeah.
I thought this was a great way of introducing Indians and
Yeah.
all the problems that our nation faced back in those days. Some people could have taken it in a lot of different ways, but I like what Jack did here. I thought it was very well written.
Yes, and I think this is where this story kind of hits its stride, really. And it's like there's a couple stories like this in here, and I wish more of the 80 pages had focused explicitly on on issues like this. I think this is when this book is its absolute best. And this feels pretty timely after yesterday with the protests at Mount Rushmore and everything too.
Yeah.
And the Redskins wanting to change their name.
Yeah, the Redskins changing their name, and the Cleveland Indians are going to change their name. Like, this is great. Like, this is this feels really timely today, and it's. I guess it was. I mean, I guess it was kind of fashionable at this point in the 1970s to kind of be aware of the plight of the Native American and everything like that. But I'm always kind of amazed that, I mean, how old was Jack at this point? He was in his 50s, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm always just kind of amazed how open-minded and progressive Jack seemed for, considering the generation that he was from.
I'm just going to keep going.
I love that last panel and the next and the next page.
The spread.
Yeah. Boom.
It's
we'll
awesome.
be talking about this page again later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
We actually archived this spread years ago, and I'm the one that scanned it, and I was just holding it up and just looking at it in detail. It was just incredible. It was awesome.
It really is something.
Yeah, it's really, really something. Incredible.
It's funny how Cap is so small, and everybody else is so big. Like all those horses and the men on the horses Cap is just on purpose, just from a design point of view. Like he can't do anything about this whole thing happening.
This is also the kind of like action based, forced perspective or 3D stuff that he would do. That like really got me with the Commandy comics when I first discovered Jack. Where it's just like you're in the middle of it, and it's just like nobody else would put you in the middle of the action the way Jack Kirby did.
This spread reminded me a little bit of the design of Commandy #6 with all those lions on the dune buggy kind of.
Yeah.
And they're all flying up just like this, and it was great.
That's right. We're all Americans. Awesome. He shouts from his heart. That's where the pain lies. That's where the truth is. Yeah. Very cool. Now what? Oh, yeah.
He's in a mine in the middle of the earth.
Oh, boy.
So
Collapse
it's funny,
mine.
Rand, at the start of this, you mentioned Siegel and Schuster, and this segment in particular, I doubt it's intentional, but this mirrors an early Superman story.
Wow. Yeah.
Like it was in Superman #1, so I don't know if that means that it had appeared in an issue of Action Comics prior to that.
Right.
But Superman disguises himself as a miner, and a cave-in happens, and and it was, and I kind of wonder if subconsciously or anything that had any influence on this here.
Yeah.
But like right down
on the top left,
the
right,
gas starts escaping. I'm sorry, Tom.
Oh no, it's a typical crazy face of a person on the top right panel.
Right.
Yeah. That would be me in this situation.
All right.
That's how I feel these days.
Yeah. Oh man.
Of course, he makes it through the wall of debris that's on one side, because he thinks he came out of there, so there must be a way to get out of there that way. And he saves everybody, and everybody's looking for him, and he's disappeared.
Right. And then jumping fireballs. He's in the soup again.
Suddenly, Cap is in an Enemy Ace comic. What the?
That was one thing that I picked up about his youth the stories that he would tell about being really caught up in aviation and radio and what was going on in technology, that it was very exciting. Like the pilots were were like really big heroes for when
the Red Baron and all that. Yeah.
When he was a kid, that's what it was all about.
And it also finds its way into Commandy in later issues. There's a whole thing on the Red Baron.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yes.
And this is I think World War I, and he's a German, from what I can tell. It's World War I.
No, yeah, I mean it is, but I think.
That insignia on the side of the plane, that's what I'm looking at.
Right, but isn't Cap in the lead? Isn't he in the Star?
Number 2? He's in the Star one. He's in the American plane.
Yeah. Yeah. So wasn't it that one story about Jack? One of his buddies, I don't remember his pal's name, who actually had a plane and took Jack out in a plane.
Oh yeah.
And they flew over the city, and that's like, one of the touchstones for some of his really cool city perspective visions. He actually did get to go up in a plane and see things that way. He never really liked flying, and he was probably had enough, but
probably scared. Yeah.
All right, he's back with Buddha. You devil, you scheming little devil! I'm weary of this game of yours.
He's still cynical. And Buddha basically says, "You haven't changed. You still don't get it."
The great superhero is uncomfortable with the sharing of human events. You want to lead a parade and smile to the crowds. You think this kind of thing is the total sum of your country?
This would be a great movie. It'd be fun.
Oh, and here's something else we'll get back to in a moment, which is this hilarious boxing stuff.
Yeah, this is fun.
Bagora. Yeah, it's fun. Knock him down again. Oh my God. Yeah, so that's fun. Fisticuffs. And we move on to Oh yeah, this is
right
great.
before right before the Civil War.
Yeah,
Before, because they mentioned that it's, the war was starting and all that kind of stuff.
I like how Cap knows his history well enough to be like, aside from the fact that morally it's the right thing to do to let this guy go, you also don't have any legal claim on
Yeah.
him here, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah. One day things will be different. You'll both learn to talk instead of fight. Meanwhile, take this fist to your
Yeah.
your
Here's a good right hook for you.
This is the moment though here. It's like,
Yeah,
friend, I
here's
never
John
heard
Brown.
that word from a white man before. He goes, not my kind, our kind, brother. Yeah. I feel like that was edited. I have to look at that.
What do you mean?
I
What do you
thought there
think?
was something else.
Well, we have the photocopies, right, of that.
Yeah. All right, so we'll keep moving here. And then now what happens? Where does Cap end up? He's riding a horse
In the desert, and he's about to, and the horse sees a lizard or something, and bucks, and he falls off.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And then he gets transported into probably around 19. When did the first atomic bomb go off? Like around the experiments are probably around 45, 46, something like that, 47.
Alamogordo. Yeah, ready for countdown. Oh boy. Yeah, there it goes.
Yeah, he says something interesting at the end of that about this is like a legacy of all mankind now, or something like that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
And then he's right into the Chicago fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
The night Chicago died. Ba-da-la.
Nice doggy on the shoulder there.
Yeah. Good eye.
Never noticed it before.
What is it? A dog?
There's a nice doggy over there by Cap's shoulder.
Oh, yeah, I never noticed that either.
So then there's this whole Chicago fire. Man, it really is a tour, isn't it? Oof.
It's just he tries to save that guy, and then he goes underwater, and then he gets transported. So who knows what happens to that guy?
Yeah. What?
And a shark.
I guess Jaws just came out.
Yeah.
Fight a shark. It'll be great. Sponge. Oh boy. All right.
And we assume that this is kind of like the present right now, his present.
Right.
So this is some kind of underwater, kind of like research
Right.
lab of some type.
We might be able to feed the whole human race. Uh-oh. And then now his talisman is pulsing yet again.
And Buddha's upside down. It's interesting. This is the only time that the person at that time period actually saw him disappear. So we get to see what happens.
Oh, right.
Your bad penny is back, Buddha.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
If you've been waiting for me,
Spare me
you
your
sure
tongue.
have a strange way of hanging around.
All right.
Now we're on the moon in the future.
This is one of those segments that makes me kind of scratch my head, and it just feels like it's Jack playing in the same world he was playing in with 2001 or something.
Yeah. He's outdone himself.
And the moral of the story is that people fight on the moon too. That fighting is all about everything.
Yeah, we always fight. They fight. They fight.
And these pages were inked by Frank Giacoia.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Giacoia did most of this run, right? Am I correct?
No, there was a lot of Herb Trimpe, and he did do a lot of it as well. Dan Atkins did a lot of too. So
but I think really... Mike's asking about the run, like the '70s Cap.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah, he did.
He started out.
I'm sorry. I meant this era of Cap. My bad.
Yeah. So then we end up with we're on the moon. There's fighting, and then up. What happens now, Cap?
He turns into a reflection in a camera.
In a camera
lens.
And then he's on a movie set. Incredible. Who is this nut? 3 times.
When I was reading this segment this morning, I was imagining the musical number from Captain America: The First Avenger, the Star Spangled Man song, which is actually
so was I. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they had seen that and were influenced at all by this. I don't know. It looks a lot like it, where he's standing there and everybody's dancing around him like this.
Like
yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, like that.
Like,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel. Look, I love that movie, and I feel like they did their homework on it. So
Yeah.
I would not be the least bit surprised.
No, I wouldn't either. Yeah. It's hilarious. What's that guy in blue doing?
Yeah.
What's with him? The bum's not even a pro. Okay.
Steve having stage fright here is really endearing, though.
You know, he still hasn't seen the truth at the heart of it. Come on.
I love that first panel. I love when there's all those darks and everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then there it is.
And it's fading. The talisman.
Mm-hmm.
Drink some orange juice. It'll bring you down.
Yeah.
And back to the heart of America.
Nice folk music. Playing the fiddle after having done some chores.
Was Jack a music fan? Like, did he express, over time, like interest in particular styles of music or anything?
There's one story about, somebody playing music for he and Roz in a car, but it was like too much Sinatra. Like they were like, okay, enough with the Sinatra already. What else do you have?
Yeah, okay.
And then there's that other story that I can't quite wrap my brain around that would be interesting to learn more, which was during his time later in life when he was working at doing the animation work, the concepts and the design work for cartoons. Apparently, he played an instrument.
Really?
And with people, like in some kind of jam. And
what instrument do you think he played?
I don't remember. It may have been a guitar.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's and there is that one comedy shot from the early '60s of him playing a guitar or something, or a ukulele. So there may have been a little bit of music, you know.
This sequence is interesting because it's in some ways a reflection of him getting out of the ghetto and all that. So if you read it, it sounds just like what he did, the American dream, to continue with, like, better yourself and move
Working
ahead.
hard at the kitchen table, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where he used to draw, when he was first starting out. He used to draw on the kitchen table.
People trying to make it, Buddha. That's what it's all about.
Then Cap gets angry again because he's leaving him right when he's going to be able to understand what America's all about.
That's right. And then what is it all about?
You little fiend.
It's these kids.
It's the future. The kids are the future.
Sure. And the kid calls him a nut, just like the people in Hollywood on the stage.
Yeah. Don't be a nut. Come on, don't be a nut.
So yeah, it's pretty nice. And then there's the nice spread with all the kids, which is great. A place of stubborn confidence, where both young and old can hope and dream, and wade through disappointment, despair, and the crunch of events, with the chance of making life meaningful. Well, all right. The end. It's pretty good.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really nice. Then we have our pinups. You believe? Oy. And then there's the rootin' tootin' Western Cap. Space Cap. Astro Hero.
This is my effort. What is yours?
Yeah.
What is your idea, JK? I wonder if anybody tried to draw something and send it in. It'd be interesting to know.
Yeah,
this is a beautiful page here. I mean, I like this. This is
inside back cover, right?
Yeah,
with
nice.
The yeah.
Who's he?
Keep my little
Never
secret.
allow that type to join Hydra.
He looks like Joe College to me.
That's a gangster, I guess.
Yeah. And that, which is just hard to beat. So there it is. That's the whole story.
Who inked that back cover?
Oh man.
So in what, 2026 will be the 250th anniversary of the country?
I don't know. Back cover? Chicoya?
Let me look. It is, if they have it on this. Yep, Chicoya.
All right. So we're going to go back. So we're back here. And is it happening? It's happening. Okay, so there's the cover. Check out these pencils. My favorite thing about this is that they took away the boxing scene.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right.
And they took away the...
So that's not Jack's drawing of
that
the...
That is not Jack's drawing. And
no, it doesn't look like it.
The freak in me believes it looks like Dave Cockrum.
Huh.
Let
but
me see what they say.
Yeah, whatever. And they also added Cap to the space scene on the upper right.
Oh, so according to the Grand Comic Book Database, it was added by John Romita.
Okay, that would make sense.
Sure. So yeah, I think it's funny to see the Marvel Treasury of Oz. Marvel probably did send him that treasury-sized paper to give him a sense of what the trade dress would look like for these things. I just don't. I've really. I don't understand what the logo is. I don't know what that's all about. Like, I can't imagine the logo existed when Jack penciled it. Where that logo got drawn in, it's not. I think it's definitely drawn. I think it's photocopy pencil that we have. It's not pencil on the photocopy, but that just looks like somebody put it there to, like, identify it. Not anything Jack would do or anything like that. It's just some goofy hand thing. I don't get it.
And yeah, just to mention, there was an Italian version that was published, and the Italian version actually doesn't have that logo. It has more like the comic book logo, and it also has the boxer in it. It didn't have the Romita changes.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, that's cool. And I have a Spanish version I picked up in like 2000 in Spain, and it was beautiful. It was the best printing I'd ever seen of this thing, because again, this was 1976. Comics were printed on toilet paper at the time, basically.
Newsprint, yeah. Newspaper print.
Really, really bad. And it was such a treat to see that story printed really, really, really well. And it has been printed really well since then. So we've got quite a few of these pages here.
This is in our digital archive.
Yep.
We've been trying to grow over the years, and we scan in different locations at conventions when they're working at conventions. Hopefully there'll be more coming up soon so we can continue our work. Yeah. But we also go to collectors, and collectors actually, in some cases, scan things for us. So if you're out there, you have Kirby art that you want to add to the archive, we're always interested in figuring out a way to get it scanned and added officially to the archive.
It's pretty cool to see what Barry Smith did here.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Right? And we have a few more. Got this one. Really fun.
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Another one.
Wow, what a difference with the Nazi and the last panel.
Yeah.
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 I tell you though, that cat panel on the lower left is it is superior in pencil.
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
I can't put my finger on it, but it is.
There's this. It's looking. As much as the rendering, there's that rendo bendo stuff going on that Barry Smith does. The intent of the emotion of the characters or the expressions is all still there. It's the same. He's not changing Jack's intent, which
not at all.
See with other inkers. It's like, but yeah, it's pretty cool to see.
I've never looked at these pencils before, guys, and
this is one of the few issues that we have like 99% of all the pencils of the complete book, which is pretty impressive. We'd love to someday do some. It would be really cool to do maybe for the 250th anniversary.
Yeah, that's right.
Get permission to do some type of really cool pencil and ink and color thing.
I see some erasures in the second tier, unfortunately, Barry.
Oh,
that's okay. Just a few vertical lines there. We're gonna move
the
on.
pencils, that top left. I mean, that top panel is
incredible, right?
Yeah. Like I don't understand anybody who could look at Jack's 70s cap work and not say this is some of the best stuff of his career. I love it so much.
Yeah. Oh, that bottom panel is just incredible.
That bottom panel is so good.
Yeah, the open mouth. Bucky's open mouth. I don't know. His mouth didn't need to be opened, Barry. That's okay. I take back what I said earlier.
Especially since he's not the one talking.
Yeah. All right, we're moving on. Here we go. It's nice.
Herb Trempe.
Yeah.
He was a wonderful person. I was lucky I briefly interviewed him back in like 2013 or so, but he was a really nice guy. I mean, he's very hardworking guy. And we talked a lot about the fact that when he was working for Marvel, eventually in the 90s or so, or I believe it was the 80s, he got less and less work. So he had to start teaching to make ends meet. But later, after that period, he came back and he started doing a lot more work. And he did a beautiful recreation for me of Silver Surfer number 18, the last page.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
We'll keep going. Very nice.
The Indians.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay. So
wow. Holy moly.
And just to mention that this is an extremely rare case where we have photocopies of a spread, because
that's right.
When they made photocopies, Jack had a photocopier in his house, and they would literally run the sheets, like auto feed them through the photocopy to get them done really quickly. And of course, big spreads are all one piece like this, and they wouldn't fit, so they never did them. Although there is a couple Eternals spreads, there's a bunch of them from this one, but they're very rare. This is a beautiful case where you can see Jack's work on a spread in pencil.
And his grandson Jeremy has he's on Twitter and he's on Facebook, and he'll often post all kinds of fun stuff. He has things for sale, but he recently found a photograph of the of his grandfather. Yeah, I think it's just Jack, and behind Jack is the photocopier.
Yeah, I saw it, which is great because for a while I was trying to figure out what model it was, the exact model, but now we can find that out.
That's right. That was hilarious. I was like, look, it's the machine.
Yeah, the old what was it called? Dilex or something? I forget the name of the process.
I thought it was just a Canon.
It's a Canon, but the process was a liquid process.
Oh, right.
Stuff in it. It just that's why a lot of these, just to mention, we keep these. We keep these very well preserved as much as we can, because they're actually very fragile over time.
So here's the original art. Yeah.
Yep.
Kirby really did a great job with this.
He did. Yeah.
I think the way I mean, like there's like a genuine 3D effect with some of this. Yeah. With the guy on the left pointing that rifle at us, and of course the horse jumping. Like this is really awesome.
Yeah. So the thing about this, and I don't think I have the color printed version. No, I didn't. I took it out because it wasn't part of the structure of what I was doing here. But one of the things that absolutely cracks me up with Marvel in the 70s and Jack was that if you look at the printed version of this comic, and I could go find it in the thing that we were just looking at, if you look at Jack at Captain America's wing over his ear, that the Marvel offices and everybody kind of acknowledges it at John Romita being the art director. He corrected that wing. There it is. He moved the wing because it was so important to put that wing in the right place. Like, I just thought that was crazy. Anyhow, so here's more pencil photocopy, and original art.
This is awesome.
Oh, great. Yeah. No, they really. It's really great to look at them side by side.
As we know, you all love side by side.
Side by side, please.
Just we'll often do presentations of certain things or whatever. I don't know how it started, Tom. Do you have any memory of it at all? But like we would put things up
it was actually on the What If Kirby website that I had.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. We're complaining because they weren't side by side.
Right. They wanted to see things side by side, not on up and down on top of each other or something. So we kind of ended up being a little internal joke for us that, if you're showing it side by side, you'll have avoid some of those requests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just great. Totally great. Machinery is nicely done.
How was this book received at the time, fellas?
What's that?
How was this book received? What was the sentiment around Bicentennial Battles?
I was just a kid when I bought it, so I was probably about 15 or something.
I think it just fits in it's. I don't think it's really been acknowledged as like anything all that different from the rest of the Marvel 70s stuff.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Like nobody really pointed it out or raised it up or anything as being anything all that special. It was just more of Jack being Jack, and you know that there's a lot of stories about negativity from the Marvel offices that's annoying, but
I wonder how well
that's one of the things. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just was wondering how well it sold. I don't know what the numbers were, but I don't know.
Yeah,
because at the time it was. I remember $1.50 when I was 14. When I was 15 years old was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a little kid and I was first going to comic shops and buying quote unquote old comics. Like I was super into the Treasury editions.
Yeah.
And this and 2001 they were always in abundance in the bins at the time. And I never bought them, even though I was a big Cap fan, and I might have just been becoming aware of Jack. Like this is the place that I would have bought my OMAC #1, right?
Right.
But I remember at the time, this didn't appeal to me. It felt like I was like, is this a trick? Is this some educational comic disguised as, I don't know what this shit is. I'm not feeling this. But but the thing that always gets me now, when you look at everything else that Marvel was publishing, other than Eternals, 2001, Devil Dinosaur, and Cap, everything was so very, very, very grounded in the Marvel universe, and editors' notes out the wazoo about what happened, where, and when. Jack's Captain America, and certainly no more than in this book, feels like an independent comic. It is completely removed from everything else going on.
Yeah.
And it's it could have been like an imprint on its own. Like if this was a creator-owned Jack Kirby presents Captain America thing, it would not be any different.
No. So that was kind of a change that I had to make, and whenever it was quite a while ago, where I just realized they're Jack Kirby comics. They're not they're not Marvel comics. Who cares? You're really going to try to fit Devil Dinosaur into the when the Kree showed up? What's the point? It's a Jack Kirby comic. It's awesome. Did I interrupt?
No.
I'm sorry. Okay. No. Yeah, but that was a moment. I don't remember when it happened, but I remember when I had to start thinking of it that way, and I realized that was where so much all the wacky when people were just kind of dissing him in a way because they were so caught up in continuity and world building and stuff that he was such an instrumental part of in the 60s. But then the aftermath of all that, and he just kept doing what he was doing, having amazing ideas and telling amazing stories. But It didn't fit into this weird ultra continuity thing that had been created. That where other writers were happy to do work in that world, but Jack Kirby was just in Jack Kirby's world, and they're freaking great. Yeah, it's really just does look like a 2001 page, doesn't it? It's so funny.
Yes, yeah. This is Jack doing a Jack Kirby crossover with 2001.
Right.
Like, I feel like this story continues like somewhere in that, in that first arc of 2001 comics where it's just Star Child, like,
Yeah, that's right.
So
Mike, were you expecting to turn the page and see the monolith?
yeah. Or like is Mr. Buddha the Star Child?
That's now it all makes sense.
Like. Oh, here we go. It's Star Spangled Man time.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of original art from that, unfortunately, but we do have this. And then we move to the back cover. So that's the most of the original art that we have. One thing to note.
I wish we had more, actually. I wish we had.
I do too. But one thing to note.
Pages exist out there, so.
Yeah, but one thing to note is that there are some owners of the original art have requested that we not share them publicly, without asking them for permission. And since I kind of whipped this thing together today, we didn't have the time to get involved in that kind of okaying. So I think there are like 3 pages of original art in our archive that we're like, I didn't have the time to ask that guy if it was all right if we included it. But I think it's important to note that we do that. Like if people have art that we really, really want to be able to scan it for so we have it for all time. But if you want to maintain anonymity and you want us to not share it, except for if it's something to do with serious scholarship. And then it not being published, not being visible to anybody, we can do that. That's part of what we do. So keep that in mind. So that is our tour through Bicentennial Battles. That was really fun.
We've had an audience throughout this, and most of you have not asked questions. Sometimes we get a lot more questions, but I guess our presentation was just so riveting today.
Yeah, clear.
There's no need for additional engagement by the audience.
We'd even welcome just a hello. We've had a few hellos, so if you say hi in the chat, that would be nice. But we do, of course, have our website, kirbymuseum.org. We have we have a shop there. You can buy some fantastic Kirby shirts, pins.
Prints, limited edition prints too.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun, and
we're also going to be on the I think it's called Comic Con at Home.
Right, the San Diego Comic Con.
San Diego Comic Con at Home, which is in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, something like that, 3 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks, I think.
So we what we're offering is I think we're allowed to say what it is, right? I mean, what?
Yeah, we are. Yeah,
it's Jack Kirby 101, and which is something that we've used as kind of a college course intro to Jack Kirby, and it was Tom and Mark Evanier, who is former assistant for Jack and a biographer of Jack. And John Morrow, the publisher of the Jack Kirby Collector, and myself. And we just basically try to get across, for those who don't know who Jack Kirby is or what Jack Kirby's all about, kind of just an intro to him and his work. So that was that'll be coming up. When is that? When is it again, Tom? Do you remember what the schedule was?
Friday. It's on Friday.
Friday at 10 in the morning or something like that.
Yeah.
Put it on our YouTube channel 4 hours later or something.
Yeah, but it's 10 in the morning Pacific time, so it's 1
Oh, right.
10,
Right.
1 o'clock, I think, on the Eastern.
Yeah. So we'll have to.
And we'll also have our virtual booth set up, and we'll be selling some of the usual items that are on our website right now. So if you're going to be, and it's open to everyone this year, so you don't have to buy a ticket, you don't have to do anything. You can join it. I'm not sure what the platform's going to be yet. It's kind of vague to me.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on YouTube. So the video that with Mark Evanier and John Morrow and Rand, we videotaped, or we did a Zoom video of it 2 weekends ago. So
Right.
that's what they'll be playing. And Rand did a wonderful job at editing it down from an hour and a half down to an hour, because kept on going on and on like now. I mean, we only took on for an hour, and now it's an hour and 17 minutes.
Oh, I can stop sharing and can.
Oh yeah, show the world your face.
Oh,
Right?
there I am. Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm a mess. That was really fun. I have to say I really enjoyed putting that slideshow together. It was fun to just kind of pull
back.
What's that?
When will we be back?
ASAP. We try to do it on a weekly basis. I feel like the Comic-Con filming kind of took place of an event, so that's why our last event was 2 weeks ago. So we'll try to get back to our series that we're doing this summer, the Fourth World Summer. It is the 50th anniversary of the first issues of the Jack Kirby's Fourth World, the series that the interlocking series that he did for DC National after his great success at Marvel Comics, New Gods, Forever People, and Mr. Miracle, and Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, which is hilarious. And I thought our first. Well, we did episode. What did we do? We did like a ramp up, 0. And then we did episode 0, or what? Then we did episode 1, which was the number ones,
and then we did guests with Mike Royer.
Oh, we did that special episode with Mike. That was really fun. We should have him back. And
we're looking for other. We're in the process of trying to schedule other guest speakers.
That's right.
But in between the guests, we just continue down the row of different issues. So we started with the first issue 1 of Mr. Miracle, New Gods, and Forever People. And next we'll probably jump ahead to Jimmy Olsen, because even though Jimmy Olsen, as we mentioned in the video, came out first, it most likely was not what Jack drew first, based on the X numbers, which is a code that they used for accounting purposes back in the early 70s.
Yep. So
my personal goal is to eventually put together an actual reading order for the Fourth World, which I know is a fool's errand, but I'm determined to try.
That's what we're doing with the Fourth World Summer.
Yeah,
we're kind of like reading it and going through it in a way and talking about it, And
but I mean, like what is the actual, chronology of events is what I'm saying.
Oh, like that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You mean almost like a timeline in a way.
Like a timeline.
Yeah.
Based on, what would you base it on?
I have no idea.
Just leave tacky
It's kind
on
of funny because when they did all the reprints, they reordered everything based on the date that it was published. And that's not the true order. The true order really starts with Forever People, I believe, and then the New Gods, right? Yeah. And then after that, Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle came out a little bit after Jimmy Olsen, so was those 2 issues, right? Is that how it went, Ran?
Yeah.
The only thing that it's like, but do you want to do something where you start with Jimmy Olsen until Darkseid, makes his cameo, and then you flash back to New Gods and Forever People? Is there like a dramatic way to do this? Did Jack give much thought to what the official reading order would be? I don't know. It's something. This is what I think about when I can't sleep.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So keep an eye out for your social media, and you know what? We got to send out one of our newsletters. I'm determined to send out a newsletter this week.
Good.
Yeah.
You do it. You go.
I will. and it'll be like, have you noticed that we're doing things? we're actually on YouTube, by the way. So
you should do a newsletter and put links to all the past ones, like in order.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah. And so it's been a while, so we've got to do that since we're paying for it. So let's make that happen and see how that moves. But I guess that's it. So we say farewell. Anything else? Anything we left out? Any questions? Thank you for the comments. Riveting, right? Totally riveting. That's what I'm getting from the team. Michael and Steve, thanks, and Lois. All right. Well, thanks again, and we will see you soon. Really appreciate it, and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Woohoo! That was it.